Christina Morales, Bio 225, May 29, 2018, methyl red and Vogus Prosquire testing. I have already labeled with my permanent marker my MRVP broth tube, E. coli, and the S. epidermis. I've also placed my 2 dropper pipettes in my disposable, in my cup of alcohol, and I have lit my candle. I also already have my cultures that have already been growing of my E. coli and my S. epidermis. So now I'm going to begin my procedure. So I'm going to remove the lid of my E. coli broth tube to flame the lip of the tube so that it sterilizes it. I have my alcohol to disinfect my pipette. Now I'm just going to shake it so that make sure that it's dry. And I'm going to grab some of my E. coli. And then I'm going to grab the new MRVP that will contain the E. coli. And then again, sterilizing the lid. Then I'm going to grab my pipette and put 4 drops of this into my MRVP broth tube. Okay. And I'm going to dispose the liquid in my bleach solution. Now before I close it, I'm going to go ahead and sterilize the lid once more. And do the same with the culture that has already been growing. Now I'm going to repeat this process for my S. epidermis. Making sure the alcohol is released from my pipette. I'm going to sterilize the lid of the S. epidermis. I'm going to grab some of my already growing culture. And then grab my new MRVP broth that will contain the new S. epidermis, and then sterilize the lid. Okay, now I'm going to put 4 drops. Okay, I'm going to put that into my bleach solution. I'm going to go ahead and relight my candle. So that I may sterilize the lid before I put the cap on. And then again, I'm going to sterilize the lid of the S. epidermis that already has some culture growing in it before I put my lid on it. Now that that is completed, I'm going to go ahead and put my test tubes into my incubation environment for 48 hours. I I'm now going to begin my methyl red test. So my MRVP broths have been in my incubation environment for 48 hours, and there had appeared growth in both the E. coli and the epidermis tube. So for the sake of time, I have already gathered 4 test tubes and then equally divided what was in the broth into the 4 test tubes, and I have already labeled them all. These are the 2 epidermis ones, and these are the 2 E. coli test tubes. So now for the methyl red, I'm going to go ahead and drop 7 drops from my methyl red into just one of each of the test tubes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the S. epidermis and put 7 drops of this into there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm going to put 7 drops of this into the next test tube for E. coli. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the next 2. I have Barrett's A reagent and Barrett's B reagent. And both of these will be in all 4 of the test tubes. So for the Barrett's A reagent, I'm going to pipette 12 drops to each of my test tubes, and then I'm going to gently mix them by swirling the test tubes. So I'm going to go ahead and pipette 12. Well, I'm going to first cut the lid of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Into the other epidermis one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Into the E. coli now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then into the second E. coli. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I'm going to gently swirl it. Make sure that it's spread evenly. They are already turning a different color, the test tubes. The test tubes that have the methyl red seem to be reacting more than the ones that do not. As far as color-wise, they're more vibrant than the other 2. Now I'm going to get with Barrett's B reagent. And for this one, I'm going to drop 4 drops into each test tube. Okay, now I'm going to shake them gently for 30 minutes to expose the contents to oxygen. The color has already changed with the Barrett's B of the E. coli. The Barrett's B made the color for the E. coli test to go from a foggy consistency to going back to the clear consistency. And the E. coli that had the methyl red in it was a fuchsia color, and now it's more of a very, very deep yellow. And now I'm going to go ahead and expose the S. epidermis. The S. epidermis did the same thing. It was the more fuchsia red color was a little bit more separated. They weren't coming together as much as the E. coli did. And the color is a vibrant yellow. However, this one is a little bit less transparent looking than the one in the E. coli test tube. Now I'm going to shake the second S. epidermis test tube. This test tube has also remained more foggy and less transparent than the E. coli. Now that all of my test tubes have been exposed to the contents of oxygen, I'm going to let them sit for 30 minutes, and then after 30 minutes I'm going to observe the test tubes for any. It has now been 30 minutes, and now I'm going to observe the test tubes for a change of color. And a positive test is the formation of a red surface layer. So after observing my test tubes, the change in color has they don't really have any change in color. This one is an E. coli test tube. There's no change in color either. And again, a positive test tube would have a red surface layer. So these would not be a positive test tube. These are both of the S. epidermis. The S. epidermis in this one, in person, it looks like it has a little fog of a red layer, but it's not, again, at the surface. And that completes the Voges-Proskauer test. I am now going to begin a catalase testing. So for this, I have my hydrogen peroxide, my pipette, my inoculation loops, and my blank microscope slides, and then my incubated E. coli and my S. epidermis culture plates. So for this, I have already labeled my slides with E. coli and S. epidermis and have made a dime-shaped circle in the center of both slides. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove one of my inoculation loops from my alcohol and shake it till it's dry. And then I'm going to start off with my E. coli culture plate. So I'm going to carefully open my lid. And then I'm going to collect several colonies with my inoculation loop. And then I'm going to transfer my colonies to the circle of my E. coli slide. Then place the tube back in the alcohol. Okay, now I have my hydrogen peroxide. And I'm going to pipe it one drop of this into the center of my E. coli slide. Here's my drop. Now I'm going to place one drop. Okay. Now I'm going to observe it for a formation of oxygen bubbles, and the absence of bubbles is a negative test result. So far, there doesn't seem to be any presence of bubbles. I'm going to leave that for now. So now I'm going to do the same process, but now for the S. epidermis slide. So I'm going to grab my inoculation loop and shake it dry. Okay, now I'm going to grab some colonies. And place it onto the center of my S. epidermis slide. Okay, and then once more I'm going to pipette one drop into the center of the epidermis. And then again, we are going to observe it for any formation of oxygen bubbles. Both of these slides, the E. coli and the S. epidermis, do not show any sign of oxygen bubbles, so I'm going to label them both as the absence of bubbles, so they are negative test results.